it was very extremely hard for us, and we were guarded by, of course, guards with armed rifles. They didn't even need to have rifles because it was so hot. Nobody would dare to go anywhere because even if you try to look to the horizon, all that you see is sand and the sun, and that's it. They had the water. Even without the guns, we'd have stuck with them because the water was scarce. After we reached Sinai, of course, for them it was like a market, literally like slave market, because as soon as we reached Sinai, all these smugglers came and they divided us up like cattle and then took their share. The first camp that I went in, they asked for $3,500, and that's a lot. I mean, I know my family's capability, and to some extent I was the breadwinner of my family, and 3,500 was a lot. What they did was they took us home and they were telling me this amount of money is not paying the cost of the bag. And like we even was going to that. I contacted my family, my sister, and my sister, and we tried to reach out to people to help. They came up with the money. And we took it up we got it. But the beatings and torture started at that point. And that's where it first broke my wrist. I still had the use of both of my hands by then, but my wrist was broken easily. And at that point we were weak. All of us were weak. We had a hard time walking, and both of our feet were tied up with chains, and my right leg was chained to the left leg of the guy next to me, so on and so forth. It was hard for all of us, but it was hard for the women more. For the women. And one of them was pregnant at the time, and that didn't stop them from beating her as well. After we paid the 3,500, they took us and sold us to another smuggler. And this guy, that same night, came over and said that he had paid a lot of money to purchase us, so he was expecting at least $30,000 from each and every one of us. And that's when I started to give up hope. Because I knew 3,500 was a lot for my family. 30,000 would literally be impossible. One of the cool things was they would make you call home, and as soon as your family picks up on the other side, they would, for example, they would drop molten plastic on your hands or your back, and so that you would scream and your family would be forced to pay quicker. I told them over and over again that my family can't pay, and they kept threatening to kill us and threatening to sell us to some doctors that take kidneys and all that. They would sometimes use chains to tie your hand, and they would hang you up, sometimes straight up, sometimes upside down, and sometimes they would make you lie on your back and hold your knees up to your chest so that they would beat the bottom of your foot, so that it would be even harder for you to walk. I mean, our situation was really dire at that point. Most of us were extremely weak. Even if they let us go and said, run anywhere you want, we couldn't have done it. That's when one of the original kidnappees that was kidnapped with me in Shagarab died in my arms. Actually, he was so weak. The moment he was, actually we were all weak, but he was a bit weaker, and we screamed and we asked them for help, anything, water, and anything that might help him, and all they did was they would look at him and just say, pay up quickly or the same thing is going to happen to you. By that time, The chain that was tied to my right foot was so tight, it started to dig into my flesh. I couldn't stand on my own. My vision was so poor, I couldn't see that much. I even hard time, figuring out if it was day or night. It was also painful. I just wanted to end it. I didn't know that friends and family were trying to help out the money. I just thought it was impossible. The only way out for me is going to be like my friend who died, so I might as well do it as quickly as possible. So I tried to cut off my jugular here and here. I knew if I cut this one off that I could bleed out in like a few minutes, paralysis in like 2-3 minutes, and after that I would die. That's what I hoped for, but the wire was so old and rusty, it kept breaking. It wasn't good enough to do it. That was my first attempt of suicide, and after that I don't remember much. I was passing out a lot. I was delirious. Sometimes I would forget where I was, and even those that were with me have already started to give up on me because it looked like I was following in the footsteps of our already deceased friend. But my mom called and said she managed to get some money, so don't give up hope. We're trying to do something. And well, even then, I didn't have that much hope. Maybe she was just telling me this just to give me hope to keep going. I knew what kind of trouble my family was going through. I mean, imagine taking a call from a loved one and hearing him scream, and the kidnapper asking for money when you don't have any money. You want to save your loved one, you can't. It drives you crazy. Literally, it would drive me crazy. I was scared. I was afraid for my mom, my sisters, because I knew how hard it was for them just to hear me talk on the phone. That's why I just wanted to end it. It would be, they might mourn me for a while, but it would stop at least. It would be a relief. What finally stopped or deterred my hands from working is they were tying me up upside down. They were hanging me up upside down, but that was kind of bearable. You can manage with it. But what they did was they tied both of my hands so tight, and they hung me up. My feet were dangling from the surface. The first day I was tied up for a few hours. The next day, like half a day. The third, the whole day. After that evening, I couldn't feel from this point on. I couldn't feel of both my hands, and both of my hands were swollen like a plastic glove that's filled like with water. And just 2 weeks after that, my family finally paid the ransom money, and they sent me to another Badawi who was responsible for transporting people across the border. I don't remember much of the trip because, like I said, I was passing out, and they were taking it in turns to carrying me over because the furthest I went was like 100 meters. After that, it was impossible for me to stand. Up to a distance, we were accompanied by the smugglers themselves, but after that, we looked behind and we realized that we were on our own. Well, in the Israeli hospital, as soon as I came, one of the doctors came to see me and looked at the state of my hand. He just wanted to have an amputation right there and then, both of my hands, and I asked him if there was anything that could be done, anything. Let's see the options first. I wouldn't risk that, and we'll just chop them off. And he said a hand specialist will be coming tomorrow, so he'll decide what can be done with you. And I stayed over there, and and the hand specialist said something could be done. You can try something, but it doesn't look good, so I don't want you having any false hopes. Just we'll see what it can be done, and I believe they did their best. When I was in the hospital, I was visited by some Eritreans, and they would keep telling me stuff about Israel, about the life in Israel, and I had a hard time believing them. I didn't expect it to be like that. They kept saying it was hard, and sometimes you are persecuted, sometimes even you're attacked by some fanatics or some who participate in a rally, some in Levinsky. I didn't even think that refugees were simply brought from the prison and dropped in the Levinsky Square. I mean, that's completely, it doesn't have a good ending. I mean, if you take an immigrant and without trying to help him integrate or teaching him the language or anything, you simply take him and drop him in a park. I mean, what are you expecting from this person?